I feel like a fraud, and that's just the truth, because I spend a lot of time worrying that I'm behind financially, that I'm not doing what I should be, or I'm not where I should be in life. And I waste so much time thinking that I'm not doing that well, and you're going to find out that I'm really secretly just a loser. And that fear I know is irrational, that it doesn't make sense, because when I look at the numbers, I can see I'm doing okay, well, at least on paper. But I think that you're probably like me. No matter how well you've done with your money, you think you're not doing enough, that you're not well off enough financially. And I'm here to tell you why you feel that way, show you the data, and just make you feel better. I'm Ed, an economist here at Opes Partners, and this is Property Now. The average person in the whole world earns just $2,920 a year. And if you're just on minimum wage and work full time, you'll earn that in about 5 weeks. And over the course of the year, you'll earn over 10 times the world's average income. So even if you earn the smallest amount you legally can while working full time, you're almost in the top 10% of income earners worldwide, just because you live in a Western country. Now, the exact stats depend on where you come from, but this is what they are in New Zealand, where I come from. But you might also think, well, incomes are higher in the Western world, so I should be earning more money. Well, here are some other numbers for you. The average income is around $62,000 a year. And although a lot of people want to earn $100,000 plus, 84% of people earn less than 100K. So let's say that you're sitting there and you're earning 70 or 80K a year. That's great. You're earning above the average income. And hey, if you're earning $100,000 or more, well done. You're in the top 16% of income earners. But even after hearing that, are you feeling any better? Well, probably not. You might be thinking, well, how is it that I earn an above average or average income, but I'm still struggling with my money? And if that's you, you're not alone. 55% of people, over half of people, say they're struggling with their financial situation. Even people who earn a lot of money can still feel stressed about their bank balance. And a lot of people fall into the trap of thinking that everyone else has their money figured out. So you feel alone and you feel bad about your money. Even though objectively, if you're watching this, you're probably earning way above the average income compared to the rest of the world. But why don't any of these stats and data make you feel better? Well, it's because how you feel about your money, it depends on who you hang around with. Because us humans, we love competition. So we constantly ask ourselves, am I doing well enough compared to the people my age? How much money should I have? So if you earn 70K and above average income, but all your friends earned 90 grand a year, you probably feel pretty poor, even though you're above average. Whereas if you earn that same 70K, but you ditch all your friends and you hang out with people who earn, say, 50K, now you feel really rich, even though you earn the same amount of money. And this psychological phenomenon, it even impacts millionaires. So you might have $1 million in your bank account, but if all your friends have $5 million, you now feel poor. You're the poorest millionaire in the room. And I don't think that the answer is just to get poorer friends to make yourself feel better. It's to stop comparing yourself to other people. And I'll tell you how to do that in a sec. But if you're enjoying this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I'm trying to grow the channel to 20,000 subscribers. And I think in today's society, we often compare ourselves with people who are at the absolute extremes of the world. It's not just that you ask, well, how much money do I have compared to Jeff Bezos? You also ask, well, how fast can I run compared to Usain Bolt? Or how much can I lift compared to the world's strongest man? And these comparisons are frankly ridiculous. If I compare myself to Jeff Bezos, I am exceptionally poor. He is over 100,000 times richer than I am. So yes, if I compare myself to him, I feel pretty bad about my money. And the average 20-year-old though, they've got a net worth of around $3,000. So if a 20-year-old compares themselves to me, I'd appear exceedingly wealthy. But these are all stupid comparisons, not just because I'm not Jeff Bezos, but because he's more than 20 years older than me and lives in a different country. And if we think about that 20-year-old looking at me, they shouldn't feel like they're behind because I'm 11 years older than them. I'm at a different stage of my life too. And this is what this whole video kind of boils down to. Most people have the wrong point of comparison. So let's say all your friends are richer than you. You can look at that in two different ways. You could either say, my friends make more money than me and it makes me feel poor, and you can feel bad about it. Or you could say, I'm the average of the 5 people I hang around with most. My friends are all doing well financially, and so that's going to help me get into the right mindset and do the same. And if you look at it in that more positive light, you can then take a more objective view and say, well, how am I actually doing financially? Well, that's where you can compare yourself to the average person your age. So here's the average person's wealth broken down by age. And you'll see the average person my age has a net worth of about 34 grand. And yep, the average person over 75 has a net worth of 414K, but I'm not 75 yet, so there's no point me comparing myself to them. But even these numbers can be a bit misleading when you're thinking about how much money the average person has in their bank account. Because most of the wealth those 75-year-olds have is tied up in their homes. Once you take out the family home, the average person's wealth peaks at just $86,000. So rather than using Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk as your point of comparison, use the average for your age. It'll make you realize that you're probably doing better than most people. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't strive for more or set bigger goals, but you're probably on the right path. But I know the other thing that often makes people feel down is whether they've got a house or not. I was actually talking to one homeowner just yesterday. She was on the Property Academy podcast, which you should definitely subscribe to. Now, her name was Amber, and she was telling me that she bought her first home when she was in her early 40s, and she felt like she was really late to the party because most of her friends bought their first homes when they were in their mid-20s. And I was saying to her, Amber, don't feel bad. The average person buys their first home at 37 years old. So even though you feel like you're behind, if you buy at 40 and the average person buys their first home at 37, you probably start to feel that maybe you're not so far behind after all. Or if you don't own your own home yet, and let's say you're 28 years old, don't feel too bad because you've got time. You're not that far behind. But I also need to set the record straight with all of these comparisons because it's all very well comparing yourself to the average, but ultimately it doesn't matter whether you're doing better or worse than average. What matters is whether you're happy or not and whether you're on track to live the life that makes you excited to get up in the morning. And all this constant comparing and competing with each other, it doesn't really do that. There's this phenomenon called the in effect. It's where the more people you compete against, the less hard you try. So let's say you're running a race and you're racing against 1,000 people. You might not try that hard because you've only got a really small chance of winning. But if you race against just one other person, you're going to try really hard because your chances are now a bit higher. So how do we start being happier with our money no matter whether our friends are rich or poor? Well, the biggest way is to get the number of people you're competing against down to the smallest number possible. Just one. Just you. I'm saying that you need to compete against yourself. It'll make you way happier and you will work way, way harder. And so how do you do that? Well, it all starts by having your own financial goals. So in my book, Wealth Plan, we've got these 3 stages of investing: the starting blocks, running the race, and then crossing the finish line. And when I started writing the book, that kind of racing analogy, it never really sat right with me because I always thought, well, it's not about me or you comparing against someone else. We're all on our own paths. And so what I talk about in the book is that you need to set the length of your own race. You need to set really clear and specific goals. How much wealth do you need to create and by when? And how much passive income will this give you? Because that becomes the length of your own race. Now, once you have your own written goals, you don't need to compete against anyone else. You don't need to compare yourself against anyone else. You only need to compete against yourself and your own goals. And I'll record another video soon about how to actually set those goals and track them. But if you want some help setting goals, building a plan, I've just released a new piece of software. It's called My Wealth Plan, and you can use it to set your own goals and see if you're on track to achieving them. You can book your free session to use the software with a financial advisor at opespartners.co.nz because we help regular Kiwis grow their wealth through new build investment properties. But here's the thing. If you simplify it all down, if you bought a house by the time you were 37, if you have a net worth above $107,000, and if you earn an income above 62 grand, and if you have written financial goals that are planned to achieve them, you, my friend, are above average in every single one of the key measures people often use to think about their wealth.